And now the WB's New Tuesday continues with Smallville.
Welcome to Smalltalk, Episode 3. This is the Smallville retrospective / rewatch podcast. I'm one third of your co-hosts. My name is Ryan Cam. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to be covering Season 1, Episodes 7, 8, and 9 today. I am joined by two great co-hosts. First up, from 3D Movie Cinema, who is laughing his ass off at something. It is Jacob Collins. Jacob, how are you?
Yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm just laughing at last week. You put a little thing in there about the older code, but it checks out. And I'm just thinking about it's an older code, but it checks out. He's right. I'm just thinking about what we're about to talk about. I'm sure you're gonna put something like that in there. He's right.
See, I was trying to find a clip where somebody says it checks out, but I couldn't. So I just put checks out on YouTube, and that Star Wars Return of the Jedi clip came up. I'm like, I think I can make that work. And it came out perfectly. It was really fun editing that episode, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it at home. Your feedback was greatly appreciated, but I got to introduce my other co-host, the great and powerful Matt Wyatt. Matt, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very good, and I can't wait to be talking about episode, what episode are we in?
7 through 9 today.
7 through 9. I'm so excited to getting into our third episode of Smalltalk.
Yeah, it's been really fun, but this crop of episodes has been by far the weirdest, in terms of my thoughts, because I'm all over the map with all three of these. So I think we can jump right into Smallville Season 1, Episode 7. This is a pretty important episode from the standpoint of who is the villain in this episode. The episode is called Craving. Overweight teen Jody submits to a diet of meteor-infected vegetables from her father's greenhouse. I guess the South Beach diet wasn't cutting it. They magically make her thin, but she has an intense craving for body fat. Anyone in her vicinity is in danger, including her date, Pete. So the picture I'm going to be using to describe this plot, I'm going to keep up for a little bit, just for the viewer at home or the listener, if you're listening on Spotify. Because, well, quite simply, the villain of the week is played by Amy Adams. Before she was famous, before Enchanted, before The Fighter, before Arrival, and before she was Lois Lane in the DCEU, she was a villain in Smallville. It truly is a small world. And when I saw her face in the first shot, I was like, wait, there is no way. And sure enough, Amy Adams is in here. It's so crazy considering she'd be Lois Lane in the DCEU, and she started out in a Superman TV show. And this was years before I knew her as doing that one episode of The Office, and before all of that, where she was the purse girl.
I saw her, and there's a direct-to-video movie called Cruel Intentions 2. And she literally played the sister, the Sarah Michelle Gellar role in that movie. And she's actually not bad. She's actually really, really good in that movie, and I actually like her in that. I'm so that's where I first was introduced to her, because I used to be an FX junkie, on that, which the FX is a TV channel, on cable. But yeah, I used to be a fan of that channel, so I would see her on that movie come on all the freaking time. And so I think to see her and then Smallville, I'm like, hey, that's the girl from Cruel Intentions too. And then she got Enchanted and The Office and, American Hustle. And, now she's a huge Oscar-winning actress. And, this is actually she's really great in this episode, because it shows that she was also in an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah.
She actually has not won an Oscar yet, as far as I'm aware, which is it's a shame, because she's been awesome. Things like American Hustle and Arrival, especially.
Well, then what the fuck do I know, right?
She crushed it. I really did enjoy her in the episode. I kind of sympathized with her character and her arc here, because basically the whole thing with her is that she is overweight, and she is very worried about her weight, and she basically starts this diet of basically eating nothing but veggies and drinking, well, green stuff, like green protein smoothies and such. I don't know about you guys, but I really related to her because I've struggled with my weight in the past. I'm down about 60 pounds in over the past year and a half, so I can definitely relate how you start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, and it just feels completely frustrating. And then you got the high school element, which definitely does not help things. There's a particularly cruel scene where this kid, Dwayne, I think his name is, he's a dick, so I don't know, like his name is Dwayne.
Yeah, he was in the movie Final Destination too. I definitely remember that dude playing the douchebag.
Yeah. He gets hit by a car like in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Exactly.
By a car.
Yeah, but anyway, the guy just completely is like, it like makes a fat joke at her expense, and I just did not like that character, but I liked Jodie. I thought I really did sympathize with her, and then she eats the kryptonite and she becomes super skinny, but then she gets the craving for fat, human fat, and it's really interesting where it goes with that. But I think in general, as a character, I really sympathized with her, and I think she's among one of the more tragic villains of the season so far.
I completely agree with you, Ryan. Like, yeah, I can totally relate to her character too, because back in my days when I was very young, I did struggle with my weight too. And watching that episode made me sympathize with her too. And she's now like craving for any fat, like even like regular fat, like fast food, and even animal fat, and even human fat, which it was very intense for her to struggle after she was losing weight when she's drinking that protein shake full of kryptonite. And there's even a scene when she runs over the deer and she opens her mouth in a creepy, weird way, and then she just sucks the fat out of that deer. Like, wow, that was like a little bit of a horror episode.
Yeah, a little bit. It did make me laugh though to see in like her truck she had like the Church's chicken box. I'm like, well, Church's must have paid a lot for that product placement.
And then also it's a little commitment for her for as an actress. Like, she's shoving all that food in her mouth, and what does she have to do? Like, offset? Does she have to like throw it up or spit it out? Because she was taking a lot of commitment to doing that.
Must have, because I remember listening to this podcast about The Office. It was Jenna Fisher and whoever plays
Office Ladies.
Yeah, Office Ladies. And they were talking about the episode where Michael Scott is celebrating his birthday and he wanted the mint chocolate chip ice cream cake. They had to do like 30 or so takes with this cake, and they had to spit it out like in a bucket every time. And they got real tired of it after a while. So I imagine if they did multiple takes of her of Amy Adams just going arr, 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 just going to town on all that food, I imagine she had to spit it out, they had to build it back up again. So I just couldn't pay me enough.
And going back to for Amy Adams before she was famous, like I've seen a lot of her. She was been guest stars on a lot of shows, like, and she guest starred in that 70s show. You've seen that show? Have you seen that show?
I have
Ashton not. Kutcher. All that I know is Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are both.
I thought you were talking about Allison Hannigan with between Fez and, but I'm like, no, that's Allison Hannigan from Buffy. I don't know. I forget which episode she's in.
Yeah, I totally forgot it, but I know she was in it too. I remember Amy Adams in that episode, and she was just mostly doing guest stars in a lot of popular shows like Charmed, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then she did a movie with Cruel Intentions, like you said. Like, I do remember her, but at the time when I was watching the episode of Smallville, I didn't really know much of Amy Adams, and this was before she became famous, before she debuted in yeah, right. I know. Yeah, I knew I recognized her, but she was not that very recognizable at the time.
Ricky Bobby is a driver. And then they start having sex at the red lot. Was it?
Are we about to get it on?
Well, Ricky Bobby is not a thinker. Ricky Bobby is a driver.
Are we about to get it on? Because I'm as hard as a diamond in an ice storm right now.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised that a lot of these actors who, before they were famous, they were just guest stars on shows. They were background actors, and you wouldn't even recognize them until you look back and watch it, and until it was brought up.
Yeah, I remember Clint Eastwood, and he's had a long and lengthy and legendary career. His first role was a random scientist in the second or third Creature from the Black Lagoon movie called Revenge of the Creature. And he has some dialogue, but seeing him, I covered it for Scary Mania last year. Seeing him in that, I'm like, That's a young Clint Eastwood right there. Like
Do you know what Ben Affleck's first role was?
what?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. And
Oh,
his
really?
voice was dubbed over too, because they
Oh,
didn't like his Boston accent, so they dubbed over him. And he had one line.
And then he made Good Will Hunting, where it's just all the Boston accents. Park the car in the Harvard Yard for day.
but Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they were background actors in Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner.
Weren't they
Yeah.
also? They were in a basketball or football movie as well. I think there was like it was something like Rudy or something, or
Maybe. I don't know.
it was something like that. They said, and then of course Kevin Smith cast Ben Affleck in Mallrats, and then Chasing
Dogma.
Amy and Dogma. And then they got Good Will Hunting because of Kevin Smith, because he pushed for
Well,
that.
their first major role was School of Ties with Brandon Fraser. That was one
Oh
of the
yeah,
Brandon...
that's awesome.
Yeah,
True, yeah.
because like Matt Damon had a bigger role than Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck was just a side character that didn't have many dialogue. He played one of Matt Damon's buddies, didn't have that much to do. But yeah, they were, that was like their first major role in a major hit film.
Also, also, yeah, I mean, that happens sometimes. Like, you know, you got to start somewhere. And obviously, Amy Adams, it's just like, you know, like Amy Adams, okay, like, you know, like she started out doing that. Now she's like big, obviously. You know, I think she's a fantastic actress, by the way. I think she is
I completely
fantastic.
agree.
I think the only thing I do like this episode, but I do have some issues with it. Like, one, I think Lex doesn't really have anything to do in this episode.
Definitely a very Lex light episode. It's definitely like he's clearly there, but at the same time, it feels like he's just there to get his story started with the Joe Morton character, the scientist, which that's another cameo in this show. Like when I saw him, I'm like, keep him away from anything scientific, or else he's going to create Skynet. I just know it.
Joel Morton is being typecast in roles like this, but it was because Joel Morton is such a great actor. Like we know him from T2. He was in Speed, and what else? And then he was in the DCEU with Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, this is that. Yeah. I did like him. I did like him in this role. You know, the only thing is, I said I do like him. There are things like I do like about this episode. Like I like you know, I do like the scene when Lex tells him, like, he goes, you know, like he tries to not blackmail him, but basically lay out, like, I know your history.
Which is sort of, he's blackmailing him in some way.
Like he goes like about your teacher-student relationship, you know, he's like,
oh
I'm
yeah, he kept it under wraps on that one. Like he doesn't want that word getting out, and that's the reason why he got kicked out of Met You.
Yeah, and even though he paid the man 6 figures, I mean, it's still blackmail. I mean, come on now.
It's sort of blackmail with bribery.
I also like the you know, that Clark feels guilty. You know, there's like one scene in Craving that I like, where Clark kind of feels guilty because he hears about how Lex lost his hair, how he's in the meteor shower, and Lex talks about how his baldness, how it makes him stronger. Because, you know, he looks at this like, he doesn't look at this as shame anymore. How he looks at this like, hey, because he's telling Clark about what happened in the meteor shower, and he's like, I'm so sorry, and he goes, it's not your fault. You had nothing to do with this. And Clark, no, it's like, yes, I came here, and then he just feels like Clark feels that shame, like, if I had not come here, you would still have hair, and you know, I've ruined your life basically, in a way.
Yeah, and he was asking Les, like, hey, what would you have been if that hadn't happened to you? He's like, I wouldn't change anything. I would still been that spoiled rich brat. He would have still been the same kid who's just a spoiled rich brat with no future.
He a freaking ginger is what he would have been.
Yeah, fucking he would have been a ginger.
Fucking gingers.
Gingers have souls.
Fucking gingers. Like, I was like, it's like that South Park episode, Kick a Ginger. Like, ginger. Ginger.
Gingers have souls.
This actually has one of my favorite endings of these episodes, because because of how, like, sort of low key it is, and how Clark misses Lana's party and he wants to make it up to her. And so Lana is like, my favorite birthday memory is when my parents took me to a drive-in movie. And so he recreates it with the Looney Tunes cartoons, which, as a big Looney Tunes guy, I really did appreciate that. And I know it's Warner Brothers, so it wasn't a big stretch for them to include some Looney Tunes stuff in there, but I don't care. Like, seeing that was just a really nice touch, and it was soundtracked brilliantly by Enrique Iglesias.
I can be your hero, baby.
It's literally on the, and it's that song so on the nose from that's in the context of the scene. Like, I could be your hero, baby.
I'm just like, come on. It's like, it's just, it's like, you get it, you get it, you get it. Do you get it though? Do you get it?
At that point, even God's going, do you get it?
Yeah, it's a little on the nose, but I still
Superman.
But it was a cute scene. It was a cute scene making up to Lana and giving her the birthday present that she deserves, which I'm pretty sure that Lex hooked him up with that one.
Which I got some issues with Lex. One thing. Okay, for instance, there's Clark and Lex do something kind of creepy in this episode. Clark is spying on Whitney and Lana with his telescope while they're on the front. He's like this.
He's doing the peeping Tom.
Yeah.
Again.
It's
like he couldn't resist to see what Lana and Whitney are up to. And Whitney has like a scholarship to the Kansas State, and he couldn't make it to her party. So that he had Lana had him, Clark, the escort.
Also, Lex creepily shows up at Clark's high school. Like, literally, do they just let anybody in the high school? Because Lex Luthor just literally walks into the high school sitting in the room with no adults. He's like a 22-year-old grown-ass man sitting literally staring at the wall. I'm like, a teacher said, "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" I mean, I understand he's like one of the most.
Do you have a pass? Do you have a pass?
I was just gonna say, do you have a pass? Do you have a hall pass?
I know I have a pass. That's why I was asking.
Like, had anyone known, like, someone would have just like seen this weird dude sitting there, and they would have just called the police.
He's probably like, I'm Lex Luthor. I can do anything. I can waltz in there if I want to.
I mean, like, Lionel Luthor can. I mean, why not Lex, right? I mean, if Lionel Luthor wanted to walk in there, no one's going to say no to that man, okay? No one.
That's true.
Because they'll be working at Walmart if they do. If they can get a job at Walmart. It's like that one, remember Resident Evil, the TV show, if you ever watched it? Like, the one that came out like last year, the year before with Lance.
Oh, no, I have not seen that one.
Lance Herrick. Well, there's a scene where the daughters get into a fight, and Lance Herrick basically blackmails the principal by saying, he says, if you ever call me about my daughters again, he goes, if you try to expel them, he goes, Pornhub will shred your resume.
Wow.
I was like, that's gangster. That's gangster right there. Lionel Luthor would be the same way. He would blackmail them to, like, if you won't let me in this high school, which I like the fact that Lex tells him the backstory of this, and like Lex is fascinated by the freak of the week stuff. Like, he's fascinated by this. Like, yeah, I like how he tells Chloe, I'll get you a job at the Inquirer.
Yeah, he'll get her a summer job at the Metropolis Inquisitor.
He's literally obsessed with Clark. Have you noticed that he just will not, like, he cannot let that go? Like, he's like,
well, yeah, he's obsessed for some things that are completely unknown and for something he doesn't understand, and he's obsessed of getting the answers from them. But what he should be doing as a real loyal friend, he should wait for Clark to come to him and wait for him to tell his secret on his terms and not on Lex's. But he doesn't want that. He's just desperate, but he's just desperate to seek the answers. Even if
he's investigating Clark. He's investigating. He hired a private investigator to investigate Clark.
Exactly. He's so desperate.
Yeah. Do you remember last week when one of you asked me if I were Clark, would I tell Lex my secret? And I said, no, I'm not as crazy now, am I?
No, you're not that far off.
He showed up at his high school where he goes to school. And
that's just the start. That's just the start. Like just imagine doing it many times.
And like, he's creepily talking to Lana about like relationship stuff.
I know. Like, dude, you're in your 20s and you're talking to a 15-year-old girl about relationship problems, and you're throwing a birthday party for her too.
Yeah, I was like 3 years old in 2001, so I don't really know what happened there, but I like, it must have been a different time to where you could just waltz onto a high school with like no one, with like just seeing and go, yep, that's fine. Like, you couldn't do that today.
No, you couldn't.
No. They think you're a shooter or something.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bald guy in a trench coat. That you're not even allowed. By the way, when I went to high school, you were not allowed to wear a trench coat either. Also, I didn't like Clark's jacket, the black jacket with white shirt when he's in the kitchen talking to his parents. I thought that was kind of like tacky. I was like, come on, Clark, you got better wardrobe. At least wear the flannel. I was literally like, like I was just shaming his outfit the whole time. I'm like, Clark, come on, you're a better outfit. Did they not have his flannel ready or something? Did they just have to put a white shirt on and say, we got a jacket here. Throw one of the jackets on, okay?
Yeah, just throw a jacket on him. Not let him wear a flannel. We got to get the shot ready.
His flannel was in the wash or something.
Oh, and there's a scene where he almost got caught when Lana was already in the house talking to his parents, and he just told his parents of what he was doing, that he jammed something from the barn or something. When he was doing his chores, and he just caught Lana like, oops, he almost let it slip.
If Clark went cow tipping, he would literally be the champion of cow tipping because he had pushed them into another state.
Oh, he would have done it. He would have thrown them off the planet.
Be like, cow guts just appeared in like Florida for some reason.
That's called cow tipping, super cow tipping.
It's called cow flying, but
there you go. That's even better.
But yeah, they finally gave Pete something to do, and this is by far and away my favorite Pete episode because I've been kind of hot and cold on Pete in the past, but this is my favorite like Pete anything like so far in this watch along because I like him as a character in general, but I don't know, I just don't know how to feel about him. Here, I thought he was really solid. I liked him.
Yeah. I get your point because in the first season, I bet that at the time when they were making the first season, they were just the writers were still trying to figure out how are we going to handle Pete as a character.
Well, this still is the first season.
And it's only the first season, but once you get further, he will play a bigger arc and he'll have much more weight to it in the future episodes without giving away too much. So I'm just saying, hang in there.
I just didn't like the body fat sucking scene from the dude.
You didn't like that one?
I didn't like it. I don't know why I put that. I don't know. I just put that. Like, I don't know why I didn't. That's something I put it last night when I was like, I had my notes. I didn't like the body sucking fat scene from the guy, not the deer.
Oh no, you're talking about the one with Dustin, getting the fat sucked out of him, and the way he looked. Like, it's hard to tell. Like, was it CGI or it could have been done practically?
It just kind of looked like a TV kill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a TV thing. It's not going to look the best.
That's probably why I put that.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did they say that he went into a coma?
Oh yeah, Chloe did mention. Yeah, Chloe did mention.
Your body fat's gone. It's like you look like you're a crackhead now.
He does look like a crackhead. And yeah, Chloe did mention to Clark that he did fell into a coma.
I think we've covered just about everything. I think we can go on to our Shield ratings, unless one of you wanted to bring up one last thing.
Oh, and the climactic fight a little bit between Amy Adams' character and Clark was a little intense, but then she starts to look at the shattered mirror of herself and seeing her as a monster. So she decided to basically wanted to blow herself up in the greenhouse, which was kind of weird. Like, what? I don't know how you felt about that scene.
Also, I got one thing. Doesn't she okay, so let me ask you this. You ever see Men in Black 2?
Yes.
When the alien eats the man and then she shits him out and takes his clothes, I'm like, so when she ate the deer, did she shit the deer out too, or did she when she sucked the body fat, did she just shit out the fat? And also, if she drinks kryptonite, does that mean she shits out kryptonite now? Because
she could have had a big kryptonite diarrhea from those protein shakes.
I'm just like, some of this logic, I think that she sucks the body fat out of a deer. How does that work? Like, how does she digest?
Yeah, because in the scene in Men in Black 2, the alien just had the big beer, like a pregnant lady belly until she had to suck that out.
She farts, wouldn't it kill? She's drinking that, okay? So, for instance, she drinks this, okay? The kryptonite. If she farts, she's basically killing Clark.
But well, on kryptonite diarrhea note aside, Jacob, what would you give this 1 to 10 shields?
6 out of 10. A 6 out of 10 shields.
All right, Matt, what about you?
Overall, it was a decent episode. Amy Adams really helped carry the episode, and I thought that the Lex subplot story was pretty decent. I thought it was a lot more better than the other subplot that we've had. So I'm going to give this a little upper grade rating, which will be 7 out of 10 shield.
You know what? I'm going to match you, Matt, and I'm going to go 7 as well. I really did like Amy Adams. I thought she was very good. I really liked her arc, and she was, of the monsters of the week that we've covered, I thought was one of the more sympathetic ones, at least for me anyway. And it's funny watching this nowadays because Amy Adams is now Amy Adams. She's one of the best actresses going right now. someone give her an Oscar, please. Like Arrival, that was a fantastic movie, but you know what? That's another discussion for another time. I think it's time to parlay into season 1, episode 8, called Jitters. Earl Jenkins claims that his violent shaking disease was a result of illicit experiments on level 3 of Luthor Core. Lionel denies that it exists, so Earl takes a plant tour group hostage. Lex offers himself in exchange for the hostages. So this opening episode was so creepy to me because the mom puts the baby in the crib, it's all nice, going to sleep and all that, and then out of the shadows comes Candyman himself, the devil from Final Destination, Tony Todd. And I legit was like, all right, who's the idiot who said Candyman 5 times in a row in a mirror?
Be my victim.
Like, seeing him in this was great because, you know, Tony Todd is like Candyman, the devil in Final Destination. He's going to be Venom in the Spider-Man 2 game we've got coming up. So he's primarily a horror guy. So Smallville is not horror, but seeing him here, I thought he was the best part of the episode, personally.
You know that that episode they had like 3 different directors, it says, because they literally were shooting that episode, but then they realized that look, we haven't shot like the last couple of episodes, because they were shooting these episodes out of order. And so they had to tell Tony Todd he had to stay for 3 weeks on set, you know, like in basically a hotel on standby, because they had to finish a couple of other episodes before they can get back to Jitters. So everything Jitters was a delayed episode that they had to Tony Todd basically got paid to sit in a hotel room for 3 weeks before they got to do acting.
I could not imagine staying in a hotel for 3 entire weeks, like just sitting there being like, maybe they'll get to me someday. Like just twiddling your thumbs.
In Canada, too.
In Canada.
You have to stay in Canada, Mr. Todd, for 3 weeks on standby. We'll get you in 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks comes out. All right, we're ready to shoot you.
Shout out to our Canadian viewers, but yeah. What did you all think of the Jitters, like the effects? Because I've been rough on the effects on this show, but I thought they were used well in parts, especially when it's like he's like overcome with the attack and he just goes into it.
He has like a giant seizure, like Jitters on steroids, and practically has enhanced strength that can pretty much deal a lot of damage if you're near him. Yeah, I thought the effects looked really good. I didn't think they would look a little jarring.
Be called Seizure then?
Yeah, I think they should have called it Seizure, but I think they calling it Jitters would have sounded a little bit better for the title of the episode. I don't know.
Maybe it was because, you know, seizure, people like, oh, people might get affected, like triggered by that.
Get a little triggered and offended by it.
In the year of our Lord 2001.
Smallville gives you seizures. I'm not gonna lie, that probably would not go over well when they're like, yeah, we should have done the seizure episode.
Yeah, also, I'm sure someone watching or listening to this will know, but isn't Jitters the name of the coffee shop in the Flash TV show that just ended?
Oh, yeah, I believe so.
I haven't watched that show in like 3 years, so I don't know.
And speaking of the Flash show, Tony Todd did voice Zoom, the character, the main villain in season 2.
Yeah, he did.
The dude just has a voice, just an epic booming voice that you cannot.
He has that present of menacing voice that just feels so intense, evil. And he's more like the next James Earl Jones, if you're really thinking about it.
He there's a scene that kind of creeps me out where, all right, so the scene where he goes into the police custody and they take him in the elevator, and then he has like the jitters, and then of course the elevator opens up, and then there's like the handcuff, the cop's knocked out, and then you see the elevator door open, like he's gone. Where did he go?
Did he get off? Did he get off like on the last floor of the elevator to build the suspense?
I thought he crawled up the vents. I thought he crawled.
Oh, he probably did. That would make a lot of sense.
Like, I also think that the hostage situation was really cool as well.
Oh yeah, because this episode to me adds a lot more tension and suspense in this episode, and this is way more entertaining than we've had in a while since the pilot in Hourglass. And I thought the casting with Tony Todd was incredible. I mean, at the time when I was watching this episode, I didn't know him as Candyman because I didn't watch Candyman until later. And then looking back on this episode, like, dude, he is such a damn good actor. And also playing the character who is more sympathetic. And even though this is a Freak of the Week episode, because most of the Freak of the Week characters are not as likable. They just start off being hated. And you really get his backstory. He had a wife, he has a child, and he lost everything from that explosion at the Luthor plant in level 3. That Lionel just made it hush hush when everything that went wrong, because they were building the whole crops from the whole cornfield from kryptonite to try to make it 10 times grower. And he was like a janitor at that place, and he got exposed to the explosion, and then they shut the whole thing down and not made it to the public. And he was so desperate at trying to find a cure, and nobody believes that level 3 existed, and he tried to find doctors and nothing worked for him, and he was dying and it was getting worse, and he's desperate. It was in the season 2 of the featurette when they did that whole webisode. It's about Chloe going on a mission to recover the story about the whole Luthor Corp and the whole cover up of level 3. That happens in the featurette of the season 2.
Yeah, then they didn't reveal Earl passed away or something like that.
Oh yeah, they did mention, Chloe did mention that he did died.
I always say, like, because then I know in the episode they never mentioned, just say, oh, we're gonna get him help at least. I will say to start off the episode after like Earl escapes, not Earl escapes, but after Earl accidentally kills somebody. I like how Clark throws a party. His parents are going away, and he's gonna throw a party like any teenager would.
Yeah, it's every cliche of a lot of shows when we see a coming of age tale when the parents are out, the kids throw a party. It's a small gathering, and then later you find out that there's hundreds of people entering your place, and it gets a little out of control.
Yeah, in the words of Candace from Phineas and Ferb, it's not a party, it's an intimate get-together. Candace party.
That Lex Luthor shows up at a grown.
Oh yeah, and he's like, "Don't worry." And he set up the fireworks. And he's like, "Don't worry about the police. I got that taken care of." Dude, you're at a high school party with underage drinking, and you're a 20-year-old. How does that sound weird on paper? But you know what? The scene in the context, it just somehow, for some reason, we just simply go along with it because it's freaking Michael Rosenbaum. He sells this scene a lot. It's suspension of disbelief.
Michael Rosenbaum is awesome as Lex Luthor, but this character definitely gives out the vibe of this is what happens when you have more dollars than cents. And I'm going to give it a minute to you all to get what I'm going at. Dollars, cents.
Right. Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, speaking of the Luthors, this is a top shelf dick bag Lionel Luthor episode right here, because he is so unlikable. And I get it, that's the goal. But just here, I was just like, you're just like,
he's a cold-hearted dick. He cares about no one.
Not even his own son. Like he's he just sees it like an Excel spreadsheet. He doesn't see like people. He just sees like numbers and figures, and it's just disgusting.
He nearly sacrifices his own son.
Yeah, and exactly. And he was going to leave them there to die when the gas was about to go high and it was about to blow up, and he could not open that door when it was sealed shut.
Like, Lex is literally, and the sad thing is, I truly believe Lex truly really wanted to help, because there is no level 3. I believe Lex did not believe there's a level 3 and everything. And like, he was going to, like, I did like this. I didn't put this in my notes, but I like how Whitney was like, hey, Clark, because, Whitney was kind of bullying Clark, a couple of times in the show. And like Whitney's like, come on, Clark, we got to team up and we got to stop this guy, Earl. And then basically, like, Clark's like, I can't get close to him. Clark can't get close to him, because I think it was, what was it?
Because he's got full of kryptonite in the system. Every time he tries to go near him, it weakens him.
And so he's like, I can't. And then so Whitney tries it and then gets knocked out.
Yeah, he just gets knocked out, no question. Because Lonnie literally told him, like, don't. He's really strong. You're really gonna try to take his gun from him and try to be the hero? Like, no, like, common sense, dude.
Yeah, like Lana's just like, yeah, he's really strong. Don't go near him. And Whitney's like, no, I got this. And is like, there is logic in what he says. Like, just definitely low energy Whitney moment, right?
I like how Lionel, when he gets off the chopper, he looks at the Kents like, these are the Kent, and he looks at them like they know. Like, oh, we have history together.
Oh yeah, yeah, you could definitely tell when the
Like,
moment
he
that they
knows them.
started to like meet each other again for the first time in a long time. They had history. He
Yeah,
knew the Kents.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, and plus, which me and you, Matt, have seen.
Yeah,
We know
yeah.
the backstory, but like
Yeah, we know
Ryan
the
hasn't. So
backstory.
Ryan,
We're
how
not going to
did
give
you
away
see
too
that
much,
whenever
but
he shook
it's a
their hands?
foreshadowing. It's going to be a foreshadowing to what's to come for their backstory.
What do you think, Ryan?
It's definitely a real Hatfields versus McCoys kind of energy going on here. Like
Right.
you couldn't make these people warm up together if even if you cremated them together. Like they're
Jonathan
just
hates him. Jonathan looks at him like
Oh, he
shit on his
despises
shoe.
Lionel because and then every time he meets Lex, he just sees Lionel
I
for
don't
what he
think
has done.
I don't think there's a single soul that likes Lionel Luthor. His own mother slapped the stork that delivered him.
I mean, seriously, I mean, like, you know, like, I mean, yeah, because I mean, Lionel's a bastard. He's a fucking bastard, you know, and
Yeah, and he'll do anything to cover his tracks from
like
his
he's in
past
there and
mistakes.
lied his ass off, put his own son's life in danger to cover up his own mistakes.
He put the whole people in jeopardy.
Everyone's life, and that's
except
his
because
fault.
not telling the truth of what about level 3. It's like, no, level 3 didn't exist. It's a myth, blah blah blah. He just kept lying out of his ass.
And then remember, like they had like Jonathan again had to tell him, like, look, you got to call him Earl, because they said Earl is the one that wants to talk to you. He does not want to talk to your son. He doesn't want to talk to me.
He doesn't want to talk to anyone
you.
but Lionel, because
And then,
right now
like,
you're
Earl
the
didn't
one
want to talk
who
to him.
started all this, and you're covering up your story, and you're not going to try to help me find a cure to what's wrong with me when I got exposed when I was doing cleaning in that level 3 place.
Yeah, I liked how Clark just destroyed the elevator and
Oh
made it
yeah,
where
yeah.
Yeah,
Remember
like,
he just like destroys the concrete wall that was sealed up behind the elevator, in front of the elevator. And I was surprised that Lex didn't ask any questions like, who broke that down so quickly? Who broke that concrete wall?
And wasn't your heart pacing, Ryan? Like, weren't you just like, oh my god? Like I said, like, because the gas is getting higher, it's gonna blow up. They're like, oh, the plant's gonna blow up, and I mean, it kind of makes you like, oh my god, this is intense, because it's like Lex is a hostage. His parents and Lionel and all them are outside.
And literally Lex is like, I'll go in there, I'll go talk to Earl, and Lionel like even like tries to get into the like, it's too dangerous, and he's like, you said it's my plant, so I'm going to protect my plant. It is like, so it's like, yeah, it's a real S tier Lex moment right there, throwing himself on the sword like that.
And I also like that how Clark saved them. Like Clark is Lionel, he's like, there is no level, like, he knows, because Clark hears Lex tell like Errol, like he tells, like, when Clark and Lex are talking, he goes, there is no level 3, and he's like, that means you just literally lied to him, and he's gonna kill you for that. And so Clark stays behind, and then Clark is like, you know, they bring him down there, and then like Lionel already had all the stuff picked up and moved and everything, and he's just like, and so basically, I love that when he pushed the button, he goes, see, there is no level 3 button, and then he pushes the button,
and he's
and
like,
then Lex just has that moment where he's like,
like Earl's like, bitch, please. He just pushes the button like it was nothing. Like, really?
Like, he just knows then his father lied to him. He knew right when he pushed that button.
He just felt so shocked. Like, you can tell that Lex knew nothing. Like, he was not lying about not by no one
for doing that to him. Like,
yeah, he hated him for keeping him in the dark. He kept even his employees kept him in the dark.
Like, that kind of, I love that moment that when he pushed that button, Lex right there was like, oh my god, my dad did lie to me.
Yeah, he lied. He kept the truth from me. And then when they went down to the facility, it was all empty. It was all gone, and it was just disappointing for Earl to not find any of the answers. He just came all the way for nothing.
I do like that how Clark's pulled him, Lex, and them up.
Oh yeah, the scene where it just starts to escalate when he was having a seizure and just breaks the scaffolding bridge, and Clark has to go and save him and has to carry him up even when he's still in kryptonite and still weakened. He had to use every strength he had to pull both of them back up. And then seeing Lex shot, like, how did you get us both up? Probably adrenaline. I was like, no, call BS on that one.
Yeah, definitely Lex is getting more and more suspicious as these episodes go on. But Jacob, you brought this to my attention, so I will attribute it to you. But at the very end, when with these episodes, it ends with the song of the week, like with last week with Enrique Iglesias, or last week, the episode that happened last week in 2001. You all get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So it ends with Hero by Enrique Iglesias. Here it ends with the family's hugging, everyone's all right, and then it fades to black. And I thought that was a very interesting choice. And Jacob, you brought this to my attention when Lex sees the Kents hugging together. It's kind of like that should be me. That should have been me. It's like it's a small moment, but it's so
yeah. I was going to bring that part up too.
By hugging his father, who's not even really hugging him, just doing it for publicity. Like, yeah, Lyle's hugging him says for publicity, like, yo, yeah, I love my son, when really it's like, you're just doing this for cameras. So, like, he doesn't give two shits about me. And then he just sees the Kents are actually like hugged together. And I love that moment how Lex is just looking over there, like, I felt bad for Lex. Like, he's just like I don't have that.
Yeah, it shows you that you really sympathize with Lex. Like, he's trying so hard to get out of his father's shadows and not turn into him. And seeing the Kent family giving the whole group hug, yeah, like you said, he wish he had that. He wish he had a parent, including his father, give a shit about him, that actually loves him and protects him, and he doesn't have it. It's one of the great scenes and very seldom, very believable in that ending. And it was a great way to end that episode.
I like how Lex, though, like, Lionel's about to give a speech, and then just to say, like, a fuck you to Lionel, he goes up there and says, oh, we're going to, at Luthor Corp, we care about our employees, so we're going to send him and give him the best treatment possible. And Lionel's like, smiling, yeah, that'll be all. And then he hugs him, and it's just like, well played. Like, well played. Like, you know, just like, because it's like, Lionel does love it when Lex one-ups him every now and then. He's like, because he's like,
it's a pissing contest between the two of them. Who's going to up each other?
Yeah, which I just feel bad because it's like, literally, like, I just think that, like, you were an hour ago willing to sacrifice me for it to cover up a fucking level of a place because you didn't want it. You were afraid to get sued.
It's like, hey, it doesn't exist anymore. We shut it down. We moved on. Like, dude, you almost got me killed. And he just pulls the 180. I'm like, no, you almost got yourself killed. I was like, you dick.
Like, I like how he does tell him the truth. I think, like, you almost got me. He says, yeah, it was one project, but, you know, it's like none of your fucking, like, it's my business because my fucking plant. You put me in front of.
And he continues to lie to the press. Like, yeah, Earl is very sick. He needs help. And like you said, he just gave him the fuck you moment. It's like, yeah, we're going to give him the best help we can in the Metropolis, even though our employees are family. I was like, damn.
Definitely talking out of both sides of his neck is Mr. Luthor. But I think we can throw it to our ratings unless you all want to bring up anything else.
No, that's about it. I think we pretty much cover everything.
This is a great episode. That's all I'm going to say. If I had to give this how many shields, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. Because it's everything I want. You have a conflict. You have excitement, edge of your seat action. You have humor. You have, like, at the end, just a great song, and you have, like, Lex, you know, like, him and his father dynamic that just, I fucking hate you for putting my life at jeopardy. Like, how dare you play with my life, you know, because it can't cover up your mistakes. You know, that right there just made me like, oh my God. And then he sees just that. I love so much that look at the end, just that look he gives the Kents, like, you know, like, I wish my father would love me as much as they love Clark. And that's not even their real kid. And they love him more as if he is the real kid while I'm his real son. And he doesn't even love me as much as a step kid.
Matt, what about you?
Oh, yeah, definitely an incredible episode. Definitely my favorite out of this 3 episode that we're covering. Great guest star with Tony Todd. And oh, yeah, and fun fact, I don't want to brag about it. I know I talked about this last time. Like, he followed me back on Twitter like a couple of years ago. By the time that Insomniac Spider-Man 2 was announced, and I followed him on Twitter, and he followed me back, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. that was just a cool thing. But also, yeah, it had stakes. It had a lot of tensions and good humor, great character moments, and I think that this was a great episode. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's definitely an incredible episode. It's probably I think it might be my second favorite episode of this season, next to the pilot. The third one was Hourglass.
Yeah, I'm going to go 9 out of 10. I think this is my third favorite behind the pilot and Hourglass, and not exclusively in that order. The Lex stuff in the party and that whole thing, I was like, yeah, what are we doing here? But the rest of it I thought was top quality.
Wasn't it funny, though? At the party, whenever, like, he cleans up and the parents are there.
Yeah,
and they had a toilet plunger for the toilet because it was overfloated.
And they said like the fact is that they had a phone call and that they said 5 different people answered. Neither one of them had any clue who you are.
It was just funny that Jonathan just gave a round of applause. Like, we were already here before you even came to the door.
Okay, there's logic behind that makes no sense. He has super speed and he went and cleaned the whole house, but yet he didn't go upstairs and he didn't look just once and see his parents.
Yeah, he didn't even bother to go up to the bathroom when the people were using the toilet, which was off limits.
Yeah, and the cliche is that he fixes everything, makes it all right, and they come home and like, we're home, and it's like
yeah, it's one of the cliche parents where, yeah, you're caught, you're busted.
Yeah, that was a great moment too.
Stay tuned for scenes from next week's all-new Smallville.
But yeah, now we'll go from one of the best episodes that we've covered so far to, well, the other end of the spectrum, at least for me. Let's talk about episode number 9 called Rogue. Corrupt detective Sam Phelan learns about Clark's abilities, and he offers to keep quiet if Clark steals some internal police files. When Clark refuses, Phelan frames Jonathan for murder to extort Clark into stealing from Luthor Corps. So, yeah, I did not like this episode at all, and I think I think it really boils down to Mr. Phelan, played by Cameron Dye. And I have nothing against Mr. Dye. He did give a good performance here, with the exception of a couple of scenes where he basically goes so Nicolas Cage, I was half expecting him to go, I want to take his face off. So he goes way too over the top at certain points, and his character just killed the episode for me. And to quote the great Roger Ebert,
that I admire what he did, and I hate it.
This character pretty much killed my enjoyment of the episode for me. It was go away heat, to use a pro wrestling term. But I will pass it off to the two of you. Which one of you wants to go first to tell me how wrong I am?
I just thought that was so funny that he said, a Roger Ebert quote, I admire what he did, but I hate it. Like, yeah, he did a good. It was impressive, his acting, but it was a terrible choice. It was impressive he did that. I just like that idea of that. But I like this episode because there's a lot of things that it has going for it. Yes, there is some bad things in it, like the Lex girlfriend storyline. I didn't like.
Oof.
I didn't like that storyline, but I did like Clark stopping the bus. I thought that was really cool when that bus comes out. Oh, I'm gonna go back first. Lex showing Clark that that super that shield,
the Alexander the Great breast shield.
What has a Superman symbol? Did you catch that?
Yeah, I caught that instantly. It was so on the nose thing.
I mean, it's
right
literally
there.
You get it, Superman, because
it's Superman. Like,
yes,
it's like and Clark's like, I don't know how I could be caught dead out in the battle wearing that.
So what does the S stand for? Well, the only thing is, I'm like, I've seen lots of Alexander the Great images. I've never seen one where he had the Superman logo on his chest. So I'm like, that was a little bit far-fetched. I mean, really, like, but they should have just had like a painting with that symbol on it or something. It would have made more sense than the stab plate, but that's just me. I do like that. There are things I like in this episode, but I think Clark stopping the bus though was really good. Like when he just does this, even though he could have killed somebody in that bus.
Oh yeah, he could have killed that guy. He had a heart attack.
It's a car crash, basically.
Yeah, but dude, he had a heart attack. He just had a heart attack and almost ran over that homeless dude with the dog.
Instead, Clark basically drives a car into him.
I mean, it looked great. The visual effects shots looked fantastic. But at the same time, he could have done something a little different. He could have taken an alternative way to stopping that bus instead of just like ran into the roads rusted style. Like, really? Like, you couldn't just
pull the bus. Like,
yeah, he could have pulled the bus, or he could have just stopped, at least stand and then be gentle and not crash into it.
Yeah, stop it from the brakes. Instead, he does this. Like,
I was like,
and then,
I'm surprised he's not dead. And the bus driver just wakes up and he's fine now. He just recovered so quickly.
Yeah, because that's how heart attacks work, Oh my God, I'm dying!
It's like, I'm dying.
Okay, I'm awake. I was fine. I thought I had a heart attack for a minute, but I'm fine.
After that crash, it's like, I'm good.
Oh, that crash really put my heart back into place, right?
And you can't let that dog die. You can't let that dog get run over. You can't do that. That's just too much.
Apparently, Clark has the power to make people's heart attacks go away.
Yeah, in the words of Joe Bob Briggs from The Last Drive-In, you can kill as many people as you want, but you can't kill a pet. You just can't. But yeah, that bus driver had a real like Ed Wood Plan 9 from Outer Space-esque heart attack, like the
Somebody should have done his background check from his health problems.
for real. But yeah, this cop, I did not like him. And again, I am more than willing to admit that that was kind of the point. I just he was a cartoon character, like from the jump, and just how corrupt he was and how just he was able to Chris Angel this evidence and just make it so how he just frames Jonathan Kent and just no one questions it. Mr. Upstanding Jonathan Kent, like all of a sudden he's a murderer now. And I get it. It's all done to get Clark into a situation to where he's helping him, but just great Caesar's ghost. I did not buy this whole murder, air quotes, murder for a single second. Who is this?
Framing Jonathan for murder. You didn't really buy that?
No,
you know what?
like,
I did like the reason is because Jonathan threatened him, and he's like, "How do I get?" Because Jonathan, it kind of scares the cop. So it's like, how do I make Jonathan go away? Okay, murder.
Yeah, just plant the gun into his glove compartment. There, it solves everything, and then leave a dead body inside the barn.
Who was the guy? Where did the gun come from?
What was it? Was it the same guy that he beat the crap out of in the Metropolis in the beginning of the episode? I believe that might have been the same guy. I don't remember. I probably have to go back and watch that episode again.
If this would have been CSI, Phelan would be in chains yesterday. But no, everyone just like assumes John Kent's a murderer is like, oh, there's a body in his barn, slap him in the orange.
But the great scene between him and the cop was a great scene because he's coming to set him straight and saying, leave my son alone. I'm not going to let you exploit him and use him to do your dirty work. And then when he tried to threaten him to expose him, he just lost his temper and just slams him in a table.
Ryan, what'd you think about that? Whenever Jonathan grabbed him, like he threatened Clark, and then Jonathan grabbed him and put him against the table. Like, what'd you think about that when Jonathan just went Papa Bear on him?
I thought that was a good scene, and like any abuse labeled against this guy, I mean, I'm all for, but it just shows that this is the best Jonathan Kent will probably ever get, just in terms of acting, in terms of his moral code. He was literally going to go to prison in order to prevent the secret of like Clark being Superman from getting out there. That's the kind of energy that a Jonathan Kent should possess. And it's in spades here.
I also like that the dirty cop. I also like the backstory on the dirty cop and Lex, how Lex tells him like they have history together, and stuff.
I didn't care for it. I wish they would have explained it. Just the whole
right.
Lex.
He does. I don't think he knows what their history was.
Ryan, all I gotta say is wait.
Just wait. It will make more sense in the future episodes, like somewhere down the line in season 1.
So just wait. You'll see it. You'll see why.
It's not that far. You'll know soon about their history.
You'll be talking about it in a couple weeks.
But yeah, I just did not like this cop. And when he shows up at like the Kent farm after the arrest, and he's like, "Well, after you dropped the safe on my car, you didn't give me a lot of options." I'm like, bruh,
he went all Nick Cage on him.
Safe on my car.
Let's take my car.
I'm like, this dude could kill you. I'm like, the cops.
Like, dude, are you really going to try to intimidate? Are you really trying to threaten him? Well, yeah, but then he got leverage over his own dad, and that's his biggest weakness. Then that's why he's not willing to go push, even though he pushes his buttons a lot, and he's close to killing him, and he wanted to kill him.
But he's like, you kill me, your dad goes to jail forever.
Yeah, you're screwed. But also, the one thing that bothered me, like, even if you try to expose him and tell everybody about him, how are you going to prove that he has superpowers? How are you going to prove
on him like he did before?
Yeah, you might as well just drop something. Yeah, he dropped an engine on top of him just to test if that's the same guy who stopped the bus.
By the way, what if he would have been wrong?
He would have found an excuse, like, hey, he got the engine fell on him by accident.
On to the next farm.
He probably would have made it look like an accident and cover his tracks.
Like, oh, I just killed a kid. Well, at least it's a sunny day out. Always look on the bright side of life.
I don't know if you noticed this, but the Metropolis PD badge that he has is a shape of the Superman shield. That's another little bit of an Easter egg, a little on the nose thing.
A little bit more subtle than the chest plate, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Savior, he is not.
Savior, you're not.
Which, by the way, I do like that. I did like that. Like Clark throws a. I do Clark throws a safe. Like, oh, you want your stuff? So he throws it on top of his car and then leaves in the car.
Yeah, he just tosses that big ass safe on the top of his car.
His car is at this Internal Affairs, which he's being investigated for.
How did he get away with it? How did he get away with that? He should have been in
guys,
cuffs.
I don't know how the safe got on my car.
Oh, dude, I don't know how it got here.
Dropped the safe on my car and then fucked off. I'm explaining.
I was just driving my car.
Some fucker dropped the safe.
Yeah, don't know how he got away with it.
See, that's why I don't like this episode, because it revolves around this cop, and every time that I saw him, I just wanted to walk off the planet. Like, I did not like this character at all, and what happens to him, I was cheering, like, because he was finally off of my television screen.
Thank you, God! Oh, Lord, yes, we're off the list, motherfucker, yeah!
And also, I think what I appreciate about this episode is that even though the cop was very over the top and very campy, but I think that the idea of this episode about Clark learning the lesson that even though you go out and save people, you need to be very careful and make sure that no one's watching you and catching you in the act, and they will use it against you and blackmail you. And that was the whole point of this episode, that he needs to be very, very careful when he uses his powers in public.
By the way, so Ryan, you're basically saying Phelan is basically Nicolas Cage from Bad Lieutenant?
I mean, I don't know if I go quite that far, but he's basically like if Tigger were a cop, like, you guys are the wonderful Tigger because of the wonderful thing. Like,
you're gonna win over Tigger.
Hey, man, Clark, I'm gonna tell you something, Clark. He's like, Clark, you're gonna steal that. You're gonna steal that S chain. You're gonna steal that S shield of Alexander the Great for me, because it does not look like a fake shit that was done in an hour. It doesn't look fake at all. It looks like a real shield. Imagine I take it to a pawn shop. They're like, this isn't real at all. This is like or $20 at least.
It's
maybe.
fake.
It's like, oh fuck! I called a bomb threat in and all this shit.
I just called a bomb threat for no reason.
Now I gotta return this. Now you know, fuck it, I'm going in the garbage.
It's like an episode of Pawn Stars where he brings it in and has this elaborate backstory, and Rick Harrison's like, best I can do is $20.
By the way, he calls in a bomb threat. Which, why would you do that? Wouldn't have drawn more fucking SWAT and all that shit?
There would have been SWAT teams everywhere. The guards would have called the fucking police, and they would have called the fucking National Guard.
A gas leak would have made more sense.
He should have done the gas leak. If you're going to create a diversion, you don't call in the bomb threat. They would have brought in the National Guard.
They're like, that shit. They like a bomb. And then on top of that, Lex Luthor, who follows them there because he wanted to find out what Phelan had on Clark, follows them there, and he opens the bomb rather than a cop or waiting for bomb squad.
Yeah, you should have gone the bomb squad. The bomb squad's job is to defuse the freaking bomb and not Lex. Oh yeah, I'm Lex Luthor. I can do anything. Like, who the fuck does that?
And the cops are just like this. Look, they're like this.
The guards just stood there.
Lex is like, I'm making a citizen's arrest, and like, it's a bomb. I'm like,
it's a freaking bomb. The freaking guards just sit there and stand there like, oh, okay.
Like, are these like security guards like in Batman and Robin? Or are they just like, ah, hockey team from hell? Ah!
Oh, I'm freezing.
Sounds like they're even dressed like the security guards from Batman and Robin too.
I did not think about that. I did not think about it until you brought it. Oh shit, yeah, that's true.
That's like they probably went into Warner Brothers archives and like, hey, you got the security outfits from Batman and Robin? Yeah, we have a security episode. We need those outfits. Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, they probably went into the archives and just grabbed the costumes from Batman and Robin. It's like, yeah, there's a security guard. Just dress up.
Reduce, reuse, recycle, and all that. But
I'm not gonna spoil it, but they reuse shots from Batman and Robin later on in Smallville and from Terminator 3.
Oh yeah, they did, and they definitely reused someone
and
later
Batman
down in
Begins.
season.
There's even shots.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did the Batman Begins. They did the same thing for Batman Begins shot. They used the T3 shot twice.
Don't tell me what scene.
And I won't tell you what it is.
And it's just like they reuse shots from other fucking movies.
Oh yeah, like, they've done. Yeah, it's not the first time that a lot of TV shows reuse shots from other films, or they just reuse shots of their own episodes that it's just that people would not even bother to notice.
By the way, if there are shots that from the high school that are the same shot where the same students walk by every time, but we're just too dumb not to notice. Like, oh yeah, that same white girl has walked by, and the blonde hair has walked by 5 times in this entire week.
Or when Clark super speeds inside the barn, how many times that it's been used? It's been used a lot.
But, which I just the funny part to me though is just like Lex opens the bomb, and then of course the security guards just go shooting. Like there's a guy in here shooting, bam, bam, bam. I'm like, what? But
Javelin just opened fire. Like, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Why you open fire from the guards? Are you trying to kill yourself? Like, what the? Are you stupid?
Dude, by the way, this is the same guy. This is the same guy who literally, when the cops pulled up last time, was like, badge.
Yeah, he could have done that. Like, he could have flashed your badge, like, hey, I'm a cop. Like,
I heard a bomb threat was happening.
Like, oh, he just goes in the shooting spree, like, just practically kill himself.
Like he did a bump of coke and thought this was a good idea.
And I was just so surprised that he did not spill the beans on his last dying breath to Lex and telling Clark who he really is. And he just he tells him to go screw himself. It was like, wow, you do not. I'm surprised he just kept that secret even when he was about to die.
Yeah, but what makes this episode one of my least favorites is not just because of Tigger Cop, but just the side plots in general. I was just not a fan of. For example, Lana taking over the torch because apparently the principal just now discovered that like the torch print like because of the torch's activities, he just now suspends it. I'm like,
yeah, because he's suspending it because you're exposing to people who are affected by the meteors by a bunch of meteor freaks that are roaming on in town in Smallville. And months later, like you said, he just now wants to shut that down and fire.
Also, Lex Luthor was in here the other day. Lex Luthor was in here the other day, just casually walking in. I'm like, you're having random people in here. I mean, seriously, what the hell, Chloe? Like, really? Like, you had a billionaire in here, and he started looking creepingly in here. Yeah, you're writing stories, which, I mean, I think that was a stupid storyline where, like, Lex and Lana are fighting because the principal gave Lana the job instead of Chloe, but then Lana goes behind the principal. I'm like, that's such a WB storyline.
That was so stupid. And Chloe just loses her shit. Like, hey, you're taking my spot. Like, what the hell?
How could you?
How could you, Clark? Of course you take her side. Because she was acting all jealous because she's so afraid that she was going to be the replacement and she's going to spend more time with Clark than Chloe because Chloe is secretly in love with Clark. The whole jealousy love triangle thing was so stupid.
I just think that, like, but the love triangle, the reason why there's love triangle is because the WB was mandated. Every TV show that they had to have a love triangle.
Oh yeah, that's happened a lot.
Gilmore Girls, Buffy, Angel,
Dawson's Creek.
Creek.
They've done a lot. Soap opera shows.
One Tree Hill. Shit, even Supernatural, I believe, had a love triangle at one point.
I don't know, probably
because it's like the WB. That's the mandate. Oh, you gotta have a love triangle. Okay, well, Clark's in love with Lana. Well, what if Chloe's in love with him too? All right, that works.
I was like,
yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do a love triangle between Lex and Clark. Like, Lex did not love Clark, and then
they done the Vampire Diaries love triangle too.
Yeah, so I wasn't a big fan of that, and I also wasn't a big fan of what Lex was doing. Apparently, like, this woman that shows up randomly is like an old flame. Like, guys, help me out here because I was.
This girl was in Piranha, by the way, and
that's Kelly Brook. Yeah, Kelly Brook's supposed to be a famous model.
Female.
It like this plot, I just didn't get behind it because this woman shows up randomly and is like, "We were lovers once, Lex." I'm like, in what universe? Like, what meaning did I miss where these people were boyfriend and girlfriend once upon a time?
Imagine if he would have said that, like, "Bitch, I don't even know you."
But also she was trying so hard to get him to sell his share from Luthor Corp and sell it share to her father so that she could win back her love for her father. That's her angle.
Which, by the way, you have not seen the last of her, Ryan.
Oh, I figured not. But I have nothing against this character. I just didn't care. It's like Lex has been in a lot of good, like, subplots this season, and this has been the one I've liked the least because it's like remember the good times. I need your shares, please. I'm like, people, like like what, like come on.
Yeah, it was a little jarring. It was unnecessary that we didn't really need.
So so let's go to our rankings.
I do got one thing I want to say before we wrap up. I do want to say that I do think that one thing I did not like about this though, besides that, is like I just think some of the stuff like the torch and stuff like that, and Lex's new girlfriend. I just feel like in this episode I do like the whole dirty cop storyline and Lex trying like at the end how Lex is like tell me about Clark. I like that, but I just did not give two shits about Lex's new girlfriend. To me, it felt like two different stories. It felt like they just added that in because they're like, well, Lex, besides the whole Fallon thing, Lex doesn't really have nothing to do in this episode again. Well, let's just give him a new girlfriend. We'll figure that out later.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah, so yeah, let's go to the ratings. Jacob, what say you?
Well, you know what I was gonna give it, but now I feel bad. I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Seems awful generous, but okay. Matt, what say you? What I was trying to compliment you. I guess it came across as damning faint praise.
Like it's like, oh yeah, this is not worse than that Mr. Freeze knockoff show. Okay, like
I'd watch Cool any day of the week.
I would not watch Cool to save my life if my balls were hanging on an inch of the life. I would say
I would pour acid in my mouth if I had to watch the Cool episode again.
You guys are no fun. Matt, what say you?
Next week, this is going to be Ryan Camo, Small Talk by himself. Small Talk, hosted by Ryan Cam and Jacob Martin.
Gotta convince Jacob Martin to get Hulu.
Yeah, that's the whole problem. He won't get Hulu.
Anyway,
my
Matt.
rating for this episode, it was okay. I dug the whole cop like corruption storyline. It was like, even though it was so over the top and stupid, but yeah, the Lex Luthor girlfriend storyline, the subplot is just giving him, just the writers trying to find out something for him to do, which it was not that good. So I'm gonna give it like a 6 out of 10. It was an okay episode.
I'm going Uno, 1 out of 10.
You what? What? What the fuck?
This is like my least favorite episode so far.
Are you smoking, Ryan?
Holy shit!
What crack are you smoking? Well, 1 out of 10. This is the worst piece of shit episode ever. I mean, I will say this is not great, but damn, 1 out of 10.
I mean, we knew. Well, we kind of figured, but we didn't figure. We didn't know he was going to go that low, the rating. We thought he would go at least 2.5, at least. But no, but we know he shits on the episode.
No, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's like Ryan saying, oh yeah, I really like. Okay, okay, all right. We'll let you have the 1 out of 10. But you know what? Next time, Ryan. Next time we're gonna have like an episode you cannot that we think is great. You're gonna be like, and you say it's bad. We're just gonna start ridiculing about it because look, we agree this episode's not great, but like, come on, man.
I was like,
1
damn.
out of 10. 1 out of 10. Like a 5 out of 10, okay, but 1 out of 10? Are you serious? Like you didn't like nuts. Like, oh, I like nothing in this episode. Like I was ready for this episode to end.
Like a tree that sits by the waterfront, I shall not be moved. But I pass it off to all of you watching or listening. What was your favorite episode of the 3? Let us
give Ryan shit, by the way, while you're at it. Just in the comments. Write in the comments, give Ryan shit, tell him how wrong he is and why this episode is so great and how he's an idiot for saying that. 1 out of 10, say 1 out of 10, hashtag Ryan sucks. Okay, just make sure.
Hashtag Ryan shits on this episode.
You all can do that at RyanCam20 at the links in the description. But Jacob, it's a privilege as always to do this with you every week. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me at 3D Movie Cinema. I have a review coming up for my channel, and that you'll see that on Fridays. Video game reviews on Wednesdays, and I'm alleged. I guess maybe if I might come back next Tuesday and do another review on a Small Talk if I feel like it. If but I mean, depends on if Ryan's an asshole next week.
Well, I certainly hope you do come back because I would like to have you back, and I'd like to have Matt Wyatt back. Matt, thank you so much. It is a privilege as always. Your link tree is in the description. Do you have any reviews coming down the pike?
Not yet, but I'm probably planning on seeing a few of the movies that I haven't seen yet. Probably like a movie called Talk to Me, Haunted Mansion, and probably The Meg 2. I know The Meg 2 is getting big backlash review, but I just want to see what all the fuss is about.
Like
Then give my
Sharknado
opinion
bad, I
on
heard.
what.
Sharknado bad, I heard.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I will plan on seeing a few new movies that I haven't seen yet, and I'll give my review there. But if you want to check out my latest review, it's the Teenage Mutant Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Barbie, and Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Most of them are up, and go and subscribe to my channel and show me support. I would really appreciate it. And it was a fun episode, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed shooting the shit and giving Ryan a hard time and how much he's shitting on that one episode.
Next, you know what? Well, next week we'll start our own just competing Smallville podcast called Small Talk with Big Bros, or Small Talk without Ryan. Small talk while Ryan shits.
Small talk versus talk small. Let the battle begin. but as for this channel, my road to Saw 10 will be continuing with my thoughts on Saw 3 dropping this coming Friday. So stay tuned for all of that. If you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell to allow notifications. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow and a positive review over there.
And tell Ryan he sucks for that episode.
For Jacob Collins, for Matt Wyatt, my name is Ryan Cam. For Truth, Justice, and the American Way, we will see you.
Unless Ryan disagrees with it.
You all take care. Good night.